F1 has existed for over 75 years. And in that time there has definitely been some controversies, so today I've compiled a few to tell you about. So sit back, have some popcorn, and let's begin. Let's start with one of the worst to get you on the edge of your seat. 2021 is a year many F1 fans will never forget. A strong fought battle between two of the greatest F1 drivers, Fernando Alonso and Fernando Alonso. Sorry, I meant Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. The season was filled with numerous controversial moments, but the worst was of course in Abu Dhabi. Max qualified on pole, but when the race started, Lewis Hamilton took the lead. Then Checo helped out and Max caught back up. And then on lap 53, Nicholas Daniel Latifi, yes, this is his full name, I searched it up on Google, spun and crashed at turn 14, bringing out the safety car. Max went into the pits for softs and Hamilton stayed on hards. Hamilton was in P1 and Verstappen P2. The cars gathered together, but Max, although in P2, was behind 4 lapped cars. At first the FIA said the lapped cars could not unlap themselves, which was a weird decision, but then Christian Horner asked Masi Senpai to please do something about this. Masi couldn't say no to his Pookie Bear. So the FIA made only the unlapped cars between Max and Lewis unlap themselves, which was a strange decision, but whatever. After that happened, Toto Kern was so mad and told Masi Senpai that this was not right. But Masi Senpai was like, we went motor racing. Then the safety car returned to the pits and became the danger car. It went back out and destroyed all the cars. Okay, I'm shitting with you. What actually happened is Max with fresh softs overtook Lewis Hamilton, who fight hard to the end, and Max ended up crossing the line first. If you want to know how everyone reacted to this moment, just read the comments that will probably appear on this video. Alright, that one was quite something. Let's move on to another controversy. Crashgate. The crash where Fernando Alonso was just better and did nothing wrong, is what I would say. But here's what happened. It was the first time F1 was racing in Singapore. The year was 2008. While the housing market was collapsing, F1 was in full swing. In this season, Massa and Hamilton were fighting for their first title. Fernando was lacking a bit behind on his return to Renault, which didn't seem to be as great as the Renault R25. However, there was no need to fear. The Italian mode boss Flavio Briatore had a plan for them to win. On lap 12, Alonso, who started in 15th with a light fuel load, pitted early, which was quite strange to some. On lap 14, Nelson Piquet Jr., who was Alonso's teammate, crashed into turn 17. This brought out the safety car. This was bad for all the other drivers, as this ruined their pit stop strategies. A lot of drivers came in for their stops, while Alonso drove past them as he had already done his pit stop, and found himself in first place. But one driver suffered really badly due to this. While refueling, Massa left a bit too early by mistake, which caused the fuel hose to get stuck on his car. Although it was removed before he left the pit lane, he was penalized for this mistake, which ruined his race, and maybe his championship too. Alonso went on to win that race, but many teams had their eyebrows raising. They were definitely suspicious. It turned out this crash was pre-planned, Nelson Piquet confessed, which caused Flavio to be banned from the sport for a few years. But Alonso faced nothing since he claimed he was not aware of this plan, although many speculate he did. Those people are wrong. Fernando Alonso would never do that. He's the GOAT. Yes, this is rage bait and you fell for it. Now let's talk about 97, when Michael Schumacher was all the rage. He was fighting for the championship against Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques was catching up to him in the Williams, and then on lap 48 at the dry sack corner in Jerez, Schumacher did what he does best. Jacques was going on the inside, and that's when Schumi turned in on him, trying to make it look like an accident, but ended up beaching his car, and Jacques went on to win the championship. If Michael had been a smart brain driver, he might have been able to fight back. But then again, he's Schumacher. That move cost him all his championship points, as he was disqualified from the championship. Now let's talk about a different controversy. In 2005, in the good old US of A, it was the US Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. At the time, there were 2 tire manufacturers, Michelin, used by 14 drivers, and Bridgestone, used by the remaining 6 drivers. The US Grand Prix had one long banking backing the start-finish line. It turned out some cars' tires were not able to handle the load of the banking and would crack under pressure. This happened to Michelin tire runners only, which included rookie Fernando Alonso's Renault 25. There was a rule in place so teams couldn't just switch tires. So the teams asked the FIA to add a chicane in the final corner to ease up the load. However, the Bridgestone users claimed it was unfair since they didn't have this issue, and the FIA couldn't legally change the circuit as it was homologated as the layout being used. Whatever that means. So in protest, on race day, all 14 Michelin drivers, after the formation lap, peeled into the pits. The race went on anyway with only 6 drivers. The Americans were clearly not happy because the cars were turning right instead of left. Again, I'm joking with you. It was because there were only 6 cars on track, and that was no fun. Fans demanded refunds, and this truly was an embarrassing race for the FIA. Now, let's talk about a controversy from the 90s. In 1990, at the Japanese Grand Prix, Alain Prost was in front of Ayrton Senna. At turn 1, Senna was on the inside by a bit. Prost turned in, expecting Senna to yield. But Senna did not, causing a crash, which cost Prost the World Championship. And Ayrton Senna won and kept the championship. But why did he not yield? He claimed it was not on purpose, at first, and at an interview said his famous line, "If you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver." Prost knew that this was complete BS. Senna later confirmed it was payback for what happened on that race last year. In 1989, at that same race, Senna and Prost, who were teammates, crashed after the 130R. Prost did not finish, but Senna, with the help of Marshall, restarted the car, but rejoined by cutting on an off-road, instead of rejoining on the main track. He pitted for a new nose and won the race. However, this would be lost as he was disqualified, and the championship was handed over to Prost. Those two drivers had a crazy rivalry. Anyways, that would be all for today. Bye. Fine. I'll tell you one more short controversy. In 2006, it was Monaco qualifying. Schumacher had set his lap, but the other drivers were setting laps behind him. At the Larrescas corner, he purposely slowed down to bring out the yellow flag, which hindered other drivers' laps, and caused Schumacher to take pole position. Even though he tried to make it look like an accident, everyone could see through the facade, so he was put at the back of the grid. He learned his lesson: don't ruin rookie Fernando Alonso's career.